Welcome to this ICF Slalom podcast episode, part of the series running until the Paris 2024 Games. We bring you the inside stories from around the globe from the people who make canoe slalom so special. Here's your host, John Gregory.
Thanks for joining me for the latest new podcast episode of the 2024 Olympic year. A huge personality in canoe slalom circles over 2 decades has been the Czech Republic's Vavra Hradilek, Olympic silver medalist and world champion in canoe slalom, extreme kayak and whitewater cross. Delighted to have him join me today. It appears he also has something now of a fan club. Here is my conversation with Vavra Hradilek. I must say, Vavra, that one of my favourite photos of you is seeing you on a crossbow in a kayak during what I think was the semi-finals run Deep Creek World Championship. And I know you're still very much a paddler, but you must be pleased looking back at a silver medal in London, World Championship, Prague on your home course a year later, and then extreme title in Po in 2017.
For sure, those are the highlights of my paddling career in the way of competitions and some titles and medals. But whenever I got asked about what are my best successes, I've come to my mind that it's actually the way I lived through the career, how many awesome people around the whole world I've met, and they became my good friends, and I'm sure that there's plenty of great persons around me, and that's kayaking. That's the environment. I'm sure that it shapes people into good human beings.
Talking of great people around you, I mean, it's astounding. I mean, you've had 4 different Czech kayak men who have taken a world championship title in the last 10 or 11 years. So would that be you, Jiří, Ondřej, and then Vit? I mean, you came, or I don't know, did you start off that such a just high performance dynamic?
Yeah, it's definitely a golden era of Czech kayaking. When I first became a member of a senior team in a Czech team, K1 Mans, they were like those guys that train too much and they don't have any successes, they don't have any medals, and in the past there has been successes mainly in the canoeing distance, and I'm sure that I followed Ivan Pišvejc's path a little bit in a way how he approached a technical aspect of kayak slalom, and he was one of the first ones to actually in Czech Republic to not dominate but to bring a medal from the World Championship. And unfortunately I beat him in the selections for the Olympics in 2008, and that was I guess a turning point of my career, that I stick to kayaking, and I started doing it more professionally in the way of marketing, getting sponsorships, and I was a full-time athlete suddenly, and being able to finance my career through sponsors definitely kicked out my career, and I was able to bring medals from the world stages on a regular basis, and I was first kayak from Czech Republic to have it like that, and I think it influenced Jiří, Vít, and many others. For sure, I was the one that they chased me, and they also see me on the top level, and for sure it helped them. And I'm really, really stoked that I can actually be part of this group, part of this era, because nothing is for granted, and it will eventually end. I'm hoping that the future will be like this all the time, but more chances that it's not going to be that many Czech K1s in the future. But looking in the junior classes, there is a chance, and for sure they see us still competing against each other, training against each other, and that's such a great opportunity to have course in Prague, and we are competitors, but we are still training together. We can follow each other, and we can chase each other on a daily basis, which for sure push each other forward.
And it's not only in men's kayak. I mean, I think you've had incredible Czech results now across women's and canoe as well over the last kind of few years. That continues to build. But yeah, I mean, I think there's always that thing that until all the Czechs have posted the time, yeah, you often surprise in the most amazing kind of ways, you and others in the team. On to other things. I mean, given your grace and flair dancing on Whitewater, I think we would say, I mean, it comes as no surprise to me that you mastered Star Dance competition with the same grace and artistry. So how much fun did you have, and how did that come about?
I got the offer to be part of the Star Dance competition or reality show on a Czech national TV. It must be 2 years ago. I didn't have much time to think about it because they were pushing on me just to confirm them that I will be doing it, and I wasn't 100% sure because I've never had any experience in dancing except of wild parties around kayaking. That was it. That was my only dancing in my life, and I was always the last one to dance. But so it was a kind of a stressful decision. But yeah, I said yes for the few reasons. One of them is that I like challenges. You're stepping into something very different, completely out of your comfort zone. Another thing is having an opportunity to learn a new moves, new skill, new sport, new discipline with a professional, and unlimited time with a professional, one-to-one, teaching you. That's a big process. And another thing that I decided to accept the challenge was for sure that it helps kayaking in Czech Republic, because it's probably the most popular TV show in Czech Republic, and it watched over 2 million people, yeah, every Saturday, and I'm pretty sure it was good time to have a kayaker on it. So definitely it's a big conflict in your training, but come on, I'm like 37, and I know that my end in my racing career is coming pretty quickly. So definitely wanted to take the chance, and yeah, far out. It was 5 months of a heavy work, and which ended up with the final. What was the 10th consecutive weekend of live coverage show, which is by itself very hard and difficult. But it's definitely a great experience to be part of the show business, different environment. But still, I set myself that I'm gonna try to enjoy it as much as I can, and that I will, try to be as natural as possible, which was probably the biggest surprise, because I had the feeling from the previous years that I watched a couple of episodes, that the dancing world is something that is completely artificial, completely out of my box, and it's only like people, like, kind of, for me, like, weird people doing it. But then for sure it's just what you see on the TV. But I proved myself that you can do it by your style, your meaning, your kind of attitude, and I think that was probably the reason that I went to the final also, because I'm not sure that I was a good dancer enough to be in the final, but I think people like the attitudes I was in, and the stoke that I was having fun, and I'm sure people on TV saw it, and it was nothing for cameras only. It was for our fans. So we created such a great fan base. We could definitely feel that, and then we tried to give something in return to the people that they're cheering for us, and yeah, it was great. We had lots of tricky moves, lots of lifts, which was I missed the winter training periods. So instead of that, instead of it being in the gym, I was lifting my dancing partner. So it was fun.
Okay, well, you're probably surprised yourself, but we know that you've got. I mean, again, it sounds very technical. We know that you've got amazingly good balance. We've seen that in a kayak. But yeah, it must have been hard with a young family as well at the time.
Yeah, yeah. It's the time wise, it was enormous, but yeah, luckily my wife handled it super well, and yeah, it was crazy when it finished. It was almost like it's a life within a life, and then it suddenly it comes to a finish, and you didn't know what to do, because past 3 months there was a group of people that were like putting a clothes on you, doing all the makeups, whatever you asked for, you received it. It's like completely different life, and then suddenly you finish, and oh, what I'm gonna do? Now I have to actually make myself a plan again, and it's no one else making the plan for you, so it's pretty crazy.
Okay, so I believe you've commented elsewhere recently that you wanted to get back to kayaking for 2024. So, I mean, what does that mean? What ambitions do you have?
I was saying that we train a lot in the dancing during a fall and some part of winter also. But I was able to kayak every week a little bit, and just a flat water or something like that. So just to keep myself in those moves, and I started in January being back in a kayak, and I was considering of going to the winter warm weather condition to prepare for the season, but it was a bit of a shock that during a starting competition, my boss told me there's no space in the high performance criteria for me, so don't even have a support to go anywhere. So, funding all the trips by myself was something what I've done in the past many times, but definitely didn't feel like investing that much money to go to Australia or Reunion or anywhere else. And honestly, I also decided to stay in Prague because I knew that the course will be totally empty, and um, because I like weather forecasts, and yeah, I kind of had some good judgment to this with the decision to not go, because past 3 weeks has been incredibly warm in Prague, and I can basically paddle, like through the whole course without poogies, doing the whole walk backs, and I'm super super stoked to have this time of the year, paddling on the Whitewater as much as I can with no limits on the course. So that's great, and obviously we've got selections, and Czech team trials are something what's probably one of the biggest competition in the whole year. So I already announced that it's going to be my last slalom racing year. So getting ready for the selections, and definitely want to end up on the high notes that yeah, would be super grateful for having an opportunity to start the World Cup race in Prague, and then maybe the Euro Games in Tacen. But definitely, one goal is to start at the Prague World Cup and yeah, have it as my last race of a career. That would be great. And even if I'm not gonna make it, I will do some. I'm planning to do some, yeah, some fun race there, and use the opportunity that many of the world elite athletes will be there, and just have fun with them maybe one afternoon during the World Cup time, and then of course to have a party to say goodbye. That would be great. Not saying it's 100%, but that's my plan.
Okay, well, it'd be wonderful to see you back on the international circuit this year. And yeah, I mean, Prague would be lovely to see you at that World Cup. So, I mean, I've always felt that you've had a very strong sense of how the sport should evolve. I mean, actually, you won what is probably the first kayak cross Po in 2017. I mean, obviously, the sport has evolved a little bit and makes a debut in Paris. I mean, what's your perception of how kayak cross has evolved since, I know, 2017 and into what it is today?
It has evolved dramatically, and there will always be doubts whether it's going in the right direction, whether the rules that are set are right or could be a slightly different, better, worse. I don't really want to judge that. I was always supportive of having a kayak cross. And our slalom circuit. I remember being in an athlete commission back around 2014, 15, and having lots of talks with Tony Estanguet back then about it, and many others, and because I've been always racing it on the extreme kayak extreme scene, and yeah. I remember those first years then when it became official on the World Cup circuit, and I think that was a great times with everyone around, trying to race off, and it was still a bit of a more fun, and no one actually thought it's gonna be on the official program of the Olympics. So there were thoughts about it, but like people were still like more fun about it, and being on the start line was something that I actually really enjoyed, because everyone was like fired up, but yeah, with that kind of attitude that I was used from the extreme kayaking scene. Of course, whenever there is a discipline that has the Olympic stamp, is things are going to change very, very quickly, and it did dramatically changed in slalom cross. By the way, I'm happy that I can say a slalom cross instead of that. What was it? Slalom extreme. That was terrible. How is it going to be at the Olympics? It's definitely something that wider audience will appreciate. I'm 100% sure of that. One disadvantage of the current slalom cross is that sometimes it gets really, really confusing. How can you provide audience experience without doubts that even competitors sometimes don't know what's going on? So my biggest concern is this, because once you've got a Olympic final fighting about gold medal, or being on the top of the ramp, and you don't want to be that one person that's not getting the medal, and it's going to be brutal, and it's going to get very, very, very very crazy. But that's racing, that's Olympics, so it's going to bring lots of stories, it's going to bring lots of emotions. Let's hope that those stories will be just in a good way, and there won't be any brutal situations, because yeah, the boat is heavy, speeds are getting higher, I guess, and people will go full on. So yeah, let's see what it's gonna bring. Uh, 99% I won't be seeing it, so I won't be there, so I will be seeing it from TV, and hopefully it's gonna be a good show, good for sport, and it's gonna bring the audience to the TVs.
No, I'm sure that's the case. Yeah, it's going to bring it to a wider audience. So it's definitely going to be a spectacle. But I mean, thinking further out, I mean, how do you think the sport that you've been involved in for the last couple of decades, I mean, how do you think it needs to evolve for what is going to then be LA 2028 Olympics and Brisbane 2032? I mean, that's maybe a long way ahead, but how do you think that the sport needs to change and survive?
We are not in that basket of sports that are secured in the program, which for sure it's something that put the pressure on people who are in the sport to always think ahead, to always think forward. If we look at the kayak cross, I think that's something that is gonna for sure be attractive. If you have uh, slalom classic, my my thoughts from the past, I guess, are still the same. Having a shorter, more dynamic courses would probably help, reducing costs of the venues. So not insisting on having a new courses on every Olympics, which I've heard is going to happen for the 2028. The games in Los Angeles will actually be held in Oklahoma. I don't know if it's official information, but I've heard the rumors, which I guess it's a good step because it's a use of the existing venue, and costs of the uh, venues were always the biggest concern for our sport. Bringing up new ideas, best case from the athletes, and having new courses, new systems. It's always not like useful, but for sure it's good to try things. Um, I guess trying a kayak cross was always something that wasn't sure that it's going to be Olympic discipline, and it is suddenly. So, yeah, why not to bring short slalom or maybe slalom special or something like that. So, yeah, trying new things about it, and I'm sure those talks are not just from my head, but it's been discussed through athletes and federations, and I guess 2025 will be first year of the Olympic cycle that maybe some new program of the World Cup also will evolve, and people will try it. So we'll see how athletes will react to it, and yeah, working with the audience also through the whole season. I guess it's the key. Having people understand the rules, understand the stories of the athletes. Having audience to follow all the journeys of the stars of the slalom. That's something that the federation should focus on for sure, and sell those stories to the public. It's always the key, like you've got great global names currently, like Jessica Fox and Yuri, like those names are, not just listen in a slalom community, but they goes out of the community and over the community. So yeah, those people have to get some stories out.
Thanks for sharing that perspective. And yeah, I know that you'll be part of the discussion and the conversation going on.
Last few years, I've had a end of my career in my mind, obviously, but now I know that for sure it's going to be my last. So I'm enjoying it. It's quite interesting, but it's hard to leave the sport because I love it so much.
The star dance kind of thing, yeah, was very funny to kind of see all these social media posts. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, it took, yeah, it was a great thing for a for you for a canoe kayak paddler in the Czech Republic to be featured on, and probably did tremendous things for the sport.
Yeah, it's you should see when I paddle on the course now, like it's crazy. Like people there's like so many people always when I train. It's crazy. I don't feel like a kayaker.
That was Vavra Hradilek, Czech men's kayak Olympic silver medalist and world champion. He talked to us from Prague, Czech Republic. Athletes have been competing in warmer climates. Many of us noted Titouan Estonguet from France on the podium in reunion behind Johan Seneschal from France and Sidris Tassiadis from Germany. It was Ettore Ivaldi who pointed out that Sidris Tassiadis had been on the Olympic podium in London with Titouan's father, Tony Estonguet. Other winners in reunion were Ricarda Funk from Germany, Elena Lilik from Germany, and Galindo Sciarello from Switzerland. We now know the majority of National Federation quota spots for Paris. By my reckoning, there are just 2 in each class to be determined from continental championships. Thanks to my guest today, Vavra Hradilek. Going forward, I will be asking each of my guests for their thoughts about the future of our sport. I think we might be surprised by their depth of insights, and we won't know until we ask. I'm John Gregory. Thanks to Aidan Johnson for continued help with sound editing. See you on the bank as we prepare for the Olympics in Paris. Stay safe.
That's it for now, but please subscribe to the podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or Audible. And please don't forget to share and leave a review too. In the meantime, keep it fast and clean.